Hi, everyone. Thank you for braving the traffic and the Diwali madness to join us for this very insightful conversation. Today, actually, I'm not on their side. I'm moderating for the first time in an environment which is like second home to me. But I'm super excited to have two very leading voices in their own space. And I'm actually sitting on your side today, being extremely excited to take out all the knowledge and all the juice from a medical perspective and from someone who's been an avid investor in wellness, a lawyer, someone who's an advocate of health herself, and traveled the world just seeing what's happening in this industry. And it's really a nice point. I think currently we're sitting at a very, very interesting point in medicine where the conversation is moving from treating disease to actually optimizing health. And giving importance to prevention is better than cure. And I always joke with Doc in saying, thank you for the medical fraternity to finally recognize how important it is to walk, sleep, and eat well, and exercise. Doc, I think I'm going to start with you first. For the audience here, longevity, biohacking, health span, health optimization, lifespan, these are all terminologies that have been dropped on us over the last 4 or 5 years. And I don't think, people are clear what it really means and what is longevity, health optimization, what does it really mean to you as a person who's always treated critical care and who's always at the forefront of medicine. What do these terms mean to you?
So longevity, as you pointed out a little while ago, it's a much used and abused word, and it's actually become a buzzword for anyone that wants to basically promote positive health and help people live longer. So as the word suggests, longevity simply means living longer. But I don't think it's about living longer, it's about thriving longer. It's about living healthy with vitality, with good health, with purpose. So longevity on its own, at least in my book, doesn't have much meaning unless it is healthy longevity. So I'm actually more into the term which is called health span.
Yes.
And so health span simply means how long you live healthy. So lifespan is how long you live in chronological number of years. And health span is how long you live healthy. So if you live healthy and purposefully, that is what actually counts. There's no point living long if you're not living well, right?
I want to ask you what these terms mean to you, Maila.
Everything he said. No, but quite literally. Honestly, I think you were reading my mind. Truly, because I was going to say longevity is a buzzword. I was going to say all of that. I would only add that it is about vitality. And I think for me, it's about showing up to be the best version of me, irrespective of age, but being able to move well, to continue to be able to dance, at a wedding with my daughter, however old she may be, just enjoying life and showing up at my best, whether that's performing in a boardroom, trying to answer some difficult questions or easy questions on a panel, or on a paddle court, for example, just being and trying to be showing up as the best version of myself.
I think just to add to exactly what you guys are saying, I also see it a lot in my profession. Earlier, we were always told, our grandmothers, grandfathers lived so many years. And of course, that's because they ate well. They had a circadian rhythm that they worked alongside. They ate clean food. It was not so adulterated. So their health span, lifespan kind of worked together, but we weren't as advanced in modern science and modern medicine as we are today. So a lot of the diseases which they died because of, we lost them for, were never identified. Today, we're sitting at a cusp where we have everything that can help and prevent us from, onset of disease. I'm not saying just fully prevent, but at least early diagnostics is something that we work towards. But there are a lot of things that are still in our hands which can promote our well-being, which is not basically falling into full-blown illness. And that's what we need to remember. And I see that a lot now, that people are looking after themselves. They're understanding that living well is important. Like she said, how well it is to thrive in an environment where your peers are there, you can move, you can run, you can dance with your daughter, and more on. Doc, my question to you next. Very important question. As someone who's always treated critical care, how and your passion now towards longevity and health optimization, how do you see our industry approach prevention, which is logical, scientific, and proven, coming from a very medical perspective?
So I think flashes of it have been around for a long time. As we all know that all of us are told to have regular health checks when we are 35, 40 plus. Whenever we go into a new job role, you kind of do your tests or the executive health check. If you're on a corporate, you do corporate checks and so on. And people who generally are fit and are bothered about remaining fit and healthy will simply go and have those checks done. So the checks have been around. But actually what happens is that the preventive health check system in hospitals is just a little appendage. It's in a hospital with 2 million square feet of space, it'll be like 5,000, 7,000 square feet of a little room nestled in the corner somewhere where you'll do some tests, you'll do an ultrasound, you'll do a TMT, and the doctor will ask you some questions. And then you'll get a report which says largely everything is okay, but your, let's say, sugars are out of whack. There is a problem there. The problem is that although everyone understands the importance of preventive medicine and preventive health checks, the focus in mainstream hospitals is sick care. Yeah. So they will detect if you're a diabetic, then you will be referred to a diabetologist or an endocrinologist, and you'll be treated as such. But those of you who understand HbA1c, it's just the measure of sugar over the previous 3 months. So the medical personnel's antennae stand up when it is 6.1 plus, 6.1, 6.2. That's when you're labeled to be early diabetic, and that's when you're referred to an endocrinologist. But I tell you what, studies have shown that anywhere from 5.5 to 6.1 is actually incrementally increasing risk of later developing diabetes and heart disease. That is something that is never focused on in regular hospitals. So what I was coming around to saying was, you need dedicated ecosystems, like the ones that you have, like the ones that we are promoting now, that will actually detect the possibility of later disease, that means predict disease, and then help you prevent it. Or if you've detected it early, then you obviously treat it much in a simple fashion rather than go for complex treatment. So people who are on the verge of becoming diabetics, and for that matter developing heart disease, cognitive problems, whatever, are never actually flagged up in preventive health checks in general. And we need to focus on these people who are just before their points where they are labeled to have disease. So that's the first thing. I'm not even talking about complex, advanced diagnostics. I'm talking about simple diagnostics. Regular blood tests, HbA1c, blood sugars, cholesterols. Same thing with cholesterol. Until 2 years ago, people with LDL of 150 plus used to be referred for treatment. But now the level is 100. And if you are from a high-risk background, which means you yourself have like one of the metabolic syndrome things, I don't want to get too medical about this, or you have a family history, it's best maintained at 70 or less. Right. So that is the preventive story that's actually coming forth now, right? And these are just examples of 2 simple tests. You were talking about complex, advanced diagnostics. I could go on.
I know, but I was also talking about one thing. Sometimes when we do a blood report, like how there is a recommended daily allowance from the FDA, there's also an optimal daily allowance. So a recommended daily allowance for amount of protein that you need to have is, say, 0.8. But the optimal daily allowance for everybody depends, right? If I'm exercising.
Absolutely right.
So I want to put that analogy towards blood work. So the optimal number of, say, a vitamin D. So are doctors now really looking at what are the optimal numbers? So like you said, people would flag off and LDL would be a certain amount. Today, you're saying if I see an HbA1c of someone who's at a 6, I will also start flagging off someone at 5.5 saying, if you've had a family history.
Yes.
So, because that is where you're sitting on the preventive cusp, where you're seeing something, you're not full blown at the
Absolutely.
disease level,
Absolutely.
but you are still, you can see a rise in your numbers and they're still within range. But the ecosystem of all the blood work that you read is what is saying that yes, you are mirroring some things, and it's now time to kind of look into your health.
Absolutely, absolutely. So there are early pointers which you have to pick up, and that's why you need dedicated systems which look at predictive medicine, preventive medicine, and personalized medicine, because what's
Yeah.
good for Sumaya may not be good for Arvinder
Right.
Soin, and vice versa,
Right.
So you have to curate personalized diagnostics also.
Right.
So if you walk into such a clinic like this, or the ones that we are setting up, then what would happen is typically you'll be asked a long questionnaire. There is no simple method to keeping, living healthy and long.
There's no magic pill.
So there's no magic pill, there's no single test or scan. You have to do a bunch of tests, you have to answer a bunch of questions, and you have to do a bunch of interventions, including lifestyle and other things. Anyway, so you'll be asked questions. On the basis of that, a whole diagnostic plan will be curated just for you.
Right.
And based on the reports, an interventional plan will be curated just for you. And that intervention will include simple things like nutrition, exercise, sleep, emotional therapy if you need it, and of course some supplements, maybe drugs if there is early disease. And then comes this whole category of anti-aging, anti-inflammatory treatments, regenerative therapy, and so on. All of it has to be personalized, and you need a separate ecosystem for that.
Exactly. But the tests are also not just limited to blood work. The tests are also not just limited to blood work. So I want to ask your opinions on full body MRI scans. What do you think about that? Gut microbiome, tests on those. All this new testing, saliva for cortisol tests. These are all advanced level testing, which now, the doctors who are sitting at the functional cusp of medicine, where they are proper MDs, but they're also practicing functional integrative medicine, they are looking at that ecosystem.
Sure.
Your thoughts?
Okay. So now let's
It's a
talk.
little beyond blood work now. It's not, I'm not going to just take energy, take my blood.
Okay, fine. So let's go beyond blood work. So beyond blood work, then you're looking at genomics, right?
Yes.
So genomics is basically looking at your genes or gene makeup or genetic mapping, and then defining what diseases you could have in the future, or how you would respond to certain diets, how you would respond to certain treatments. So there is a lot in genetic mapping of every individual, right? That's one part. Then you talked about microbiome. Microbiome is simply analysis of one's stool for all the gut microbiota, right? Which means the gut flora. And the microbiome pattern determines gut health, mental health, metabolic health. So, actually, it influences everything from sleep to mood to...
Is your gut.
Yeah, it's all gut, right? So, if you have let's say dysbiosis means your microbiome is out of whack. It's not exactly composed of the good bacteria. There are some bad bacteria in differing amounts. Then you can actually have treatments to mend that, and so-called acidity and colitis and non-specific inflammation of the bowel, even sleep issues, cognitive issues, even cardiovascular issues can actually be influenced positively by correcting the biome or the microbiome.
Right.
So that's two. Now you talked about MRIs. So what's actually, everybody needs to know that the whole body MRI is not an essential test. If you actually go to a longevity clinic and everybody must have a whole body MRI, that's not true. It's not FDA approved. It's not approved by any medical body. But a lot of longevity clinics do it. What happens is that you will detect cancer and other abnormalities early, yes. But sometimes there are false positives, which means that there's an abnormality which the doctors cannot label. Right. And therefore, you are set on a path of repeated testing and anxiety. So that's the downside, right? But now with AI coming in, it is able to, separate the real from the rogue. Okay, So AI, there are AI algorithms which you put on somebody's whole body scan, and then what will funnel out is what's important as an abnormality and what's not. So what can be ignored. Right. And they are usually 95 to 99% accurate. Yeah. But still, like I said, not FDA approved. Brain MRI is FDA approved for people who are at high risk of brain cancer and Alzheimer's disease, right? But they're not FDA approved for regular testing in longevity clinics. But I personally believe in brain MRIs, aided by AI.
I would too.
So if there are good AI algorithms aiding your imaging, even in a screening sense in longevity clinics or preventive health clinics, then that is something worth considering.
Right.
But being a scientist and a doctor, I would always give a disclaimer and I would explain to you, look, you want to have a brain MRI, you might detect something you would have found out 20 years later and might save your life, sure. But here are the caveats.
Yeah. Next one's for you.
Sorry for the long answer.
No, it's very important because I think people really need to hear from a medical perspective, because you have to understand from us, our world, we are hearing terms of longevity, biohacking, IVs at clinics, we can check into, we need if you've got a disturbed stomach, someone will tell you, you need to go and do a gut microbiome test, somebody will but there's nobody really sitting on the authority of it. So everyone's just running pillar to post, but no one's funneling the information, and medical science is yet to say, okay, if I'm seeing something in a report, let me look at it. That's where we're missing. We have that test, but we need you guys to say, okay, this is what's come in my report. What do you think? Sure. So, coming to you.
Can I jump in there, actually? I just wanted to say, so Lanserhof, as you mentioned, is actually doing a lot of that. Could we be doing more? Sure. But that's why, actually, we have 15, 20 doctors on site and the urgent care centre. And we don't have them working full-time. We have the chief medical, but we have them working in hospitals with access to experimental stuff. Why? So we can just see what's out there. Of course, we will not deploy experimental stuff with Lanserhof clients, but we want to know as soon as it's been approved or clinically validated, then we'll deploy them.
Right.
So we don't just do the medical piece. We start even with nature. The power of nature is extremely healing.
Right.
Then we have the best-in-class doctors. Then we have the cutting-edge diagnostics. Then we add in the wellness piece for emotional health and therapists and all of those things and the experience. And we bring that all together. But we can, I'd love to hear more about what you're developing here. Sounds absolutely fantastic. And as I said...
Focus is Lanserhof.
No, the fact that I think the focus is actually impact for people that come and transformation, right? Because we can be doing so much more, right? We were typically used to going to doctors and them just throwing medicine at us. We can do so much more and enable the body to heal itself also, mind and body. And, I don't know if you do know, but we have that one core principle, which is the gut. Because once you reduce that inflammation, then you can see what is actually going on and diagnose properly.
Yeah.
And prime the body for whatever medical treatments they may need. So sorry, I did want to just...
No, I just wanted to ask, but very interesting. You've been at the intersection of longevity, lifestyle, technology, and somebody who's been advocating wellness, advising a lot of the wellness facilities across the world. How have you seen this industry evolve in your journey over the last, say, 5-7 years?
Well, firstly, to be clear, I am not a longevity expert. I advise them on the commercial side.
But still, I mean, you can see how the offerings, how they're changing.
How's it going on the commercial side?
Bloody great. That's why I'm here opening up the Indian market, and it's going super. So I will talk as my experience as a longevity consumer, very much like you, Sumaya. And maybe I even came to it later. But what I have seen is we've come from massages, Thai massages and whatnot, gyms, and then doing these detoxes, green juices and all those kinds of things into some really sophisticated stuff. I mean, I kind of dabble with some of the experimental stuff, and we'll come on to some of that later. But I think some of the stuff we have now is incredible. And do you want me to talk about the IV drips and the stuff?
Yes, of course.
So I'm a huge fan of hyperbaric chambers, the oxygen chambers. So I'll either go in for 60 minutes or 90 minutes, and I will do hypoxia there. I won't go and use a specific machine for hypoxia. You can actually do it. So
Can you explain to the audience what the difference between a hyperbaric chamber and a hypoxic training?
Well, actually, I think the hypoxia is what you do with the oxygen. You're turning it off or you're slowing it down in order to stress your lungs to work better. Is that right? Just checking with a doctor. I'm just calling a friend here, right? So I'm a huge fan of that. I don't think that is wacky or anything like that. I think that's pretty standard in longevity and health. I'm also a huge fan of red light.
Right.
Red light therapy. But for me, I have a bit of a melasma, sadly, so I have to kind of interchange between green light. So chromotherapy and medical lights, are used for different things. But red light is actually FDA approved. Pain management, apparently collagen increase, so I need to use it more, and those kinds of things. So, and inflammation, actually. So it's actually FDA approved for those kinds of things. IV drips, I'm a big fan of. I think they can be overused. I think when, Hailey Bieber kind of popularized them, but I do like them. I travel a lot. I'm a single mum, so I definitely need them. But I don't think everybody does need them. I think you can use them as a big top-up, and you can use supplements. But again, that's another, I think we're going to have a question on that.
Yeah, we're going to have a question on that.
Yeah, well, I'm going to go deep on that because that's my area. But yeah, I think supplements are really important. But I actually do think that living well does not cost a lot of money. It takes some thought and some planning. You need to eat well. I mean, within reason, it's 80-20. Sometimes it's 80 partying and 20 the other way around. But we recalibrate. So eating well, sleeping well, moving well, stressing the body a little bit, especially for women. I don't know how old we are in this room, but you need to start doing weights. We're predisposed to osteoporosis. That's not a personalized thing. That's a female thing, I believe. Right? And we need events like this. We need interaction, good communities, and communication.
So I just want to add to her point and actually second her on that nutrition is everything. If you can listen to what you eat, what you put in your body, and listen to your gut, inflammation is the root cause to a lot of disease in the future, which is also caused with sugar, and Doc will add on to more of that. But honestly, I've also been in this profession for a long time, health and wellness and fitness, but I can say that the one thing that has stayed with me and has helped me is just being on point with nutrition. So I give nutrition 90%. I'm one of those people who think food is medicine. I'm one of them. And I genuinely feel that people can change and go from being zero to hero, literally, just by sorting out their nutrition. And you'll be surprised that when people literally sit and document how they're eating, what they're eating, it's all over the place. Just a little mindful thinking on that for you guys. Doc, very important. Next question for you. And this is a question from me. Amongst all the noise of advanced diagnostics, AI-driven diagnostics, preventive care, blood work, optimization of health, how much of it would you say still needs to go back to the basics of like what we were just talking about, the roots of sleeping well, eating well, exercising well, and how much of it really needs to be supplemented? That's a very important question I want to ask you. Because I have people who are doing the rest of it like 80% off, but have all the wealth in the world to do the advanced optimization on, but the base is still not strong. So I want to ask you that question.
So how many of you have read a book called Outlive by Peter Attia? Right. Go read it, because it's an interesting read. And it's referenced with close to 400 medical references, but it's all written in a very lucid, understandable fashion, which all of us who are non-doctors can also understand. So he talks about 5 things: diet, that's nutrition; exercise, sleep; emotional therapy; and drugs and supplements. So guess which is the thinnest section of the book? Drugs and supplements. That's the thinnest section of the book. So that answers your question. So the more important bits are the other 4. Sleep. I mean, so let me give some science about sleep, right? Everybody's heard that you have to sleep 8 hours a night, or 8 hours and 24 hours. 7+ is where you begin to reap the benefits of the positive benefits of sleep. And it's important that you sleep well. Fragmented sleep is not good. Less sleep is not good. Sleeping at odd times, like sleeping at 6 in the morning after a big bash, and then waking up at 2 p.m., that 8 hours doesn't do the trick, sadly. Yeah. It's got to be between 10 and 6 or whatever, 11 and 6 and so on. So what happens in sleep? Sleep it's not actually rest, it's repair. So just remember that. It's repair. So there's basically two types of sleep, deep sleep and REM sleep. I mean, there is light sleep also, but light sleep becomes deep sleep. So those of you who use wearables, Hoop or, I don't know, Gabbit, Ultrahuman, whatever, Aura. So you will have noticed, or even Apple, it gives you the same sleep patterns. So deep sleep is really rest to the brain and removal of the waste. So there is a medical process called autophagy. Autophagy means like, this is the janitor service at night, okay? So you got to do deep sleep, right? And that is important also for reducing the number of aging cells. So not just the dead cells and the waste, but also the aging cells, they get rejuvenated, right? And if they are gone, then they are removed. So basically the muck goes away. That's what happens in deep sleep. Then in REM sleep, that's the time, REM is rapid eye movement. That's the time you get all your eureka ideas. You will often wake up in the morning, you will have solved the problem that you slept with at night, and that happens during the REM sleep. So REM is sharpening your memory, creativity, even emotions. So that's what happens there. So overall, if you sleep well, your metabolic function, your metabolic health will be better. If you sleep less, you're more likely to have diabetes, okay? Your insulin sensitivity comes down with less sleep. Your cognitive health, which means the tendency to forget and develop dementia gets worse as you sleep less, right? These are all, I will only say what is medically proven. Yeah. This is why
we are picking your brain and her brain today.
This is the brief that we started with. Yes. That's what she said. And everything I'm saying is completely science evidence-based. And there is benefit in cardiovascular health. So the incidence of heart attacks and cardiovascular disease reduces with better sleep. In adolescents, those who sleep less than 6 hours versus those who sleep more than 8 hours, the less than 6 hours chaps have actually 3 times higher ideation of suicide. So suicidal ideation is much, much higher in adolescents who sleep less. So these are all studies that I'm actually quoting.
And that's why it makes so much sense that
So go early and sleep.
Yeah, that's why it makes so much sense that, you know, in the younger generation now, they're going through so much depression. We were just talking about it actually, 10-year-old, 12-year-olds, because their whole sleep cycle, no matter how much you try and monitor it's all off because of being on their phone. Sorry.
Well, no, just on that, though, actually, they're misdiagnosing ADHD for tech fatigue.
Yes, absolutely. Yes, absolutely.
But I'm going to just jump back. I have a question for you, if I may. Sure. Do you think that one can mimic the state of autophagy by using spermidine? So that's for the fasting. So I didn't realize it was also used for the brain cleansing. I obviously understand about the toxins and everything, but we use that at Lanserhof, for example.
Sure. So yes, there has been some benefit shown by use of that, but it's just like saying that I didn't sleep, so I need something else to sort things out in my brain, right? Yeah. So,
but is it an okay quick fix when you have been partying until 2 in the morning?
I think so. There's plenty of evidence, yeah.
Great, okay, good.
So I was asking him, tell me what's the quick fix?
Sorry, I only said sleep. If you want, I'll talk about exercise, but that's your forte.
Yeah, but exercise is important. But you know, you're also talking to someone who's saying, I think people are over-exercising because everyone's woken up in their 40s now all of a sudden, and they probably never exercised all through their lives, and they have these new goals at 40 saying, I need to run a 42K. And I think if you ask me, even though I run gyms and I operate health facilities, I think people are exercising a bit too much and moving a lot less. So you need to exercise and movement are two different things. Training is different. And moving is different. Yeah. So I keep talking about this. I want to hear it from the doc.
So let's see how much everyone walks, and whether you actually monitor how much you walk every day. So those who walk less than 5,000 steps a day, please stand up. We have to stand up. Less than 5,000 steps a day.
I work from home, so
I'm not asking for excuses yet.
I walk when I go to airports.
So, okay, guys, please be seated. Nice to meet all of you. So, and those who do 5,000 to 7,500? Wow, okay. And so I see there are 6 or 7 who do 10,000 or more. Yes. I'm the 5 to 7.5, by the way.
But you should be more because you're always pacing up and down the hospital. We have to make an effort.
I'm closer to 7, but I can't lie here, right? So.
You know, on my Instagram, you'll always see I'm walking in Lodi Garden, and you know, people constantly hound me and they troll me and saying, "Oh, so you exercise the whole day because you're walking for an hour and then you also go to train for an hour." I'm like, listen, I go to exercise because the way our environment is, unfortunately, we're not like how she lives in beautiful London and she can walk. For us, walking, we need to go somewhere to be active. So unfortunately, that is not counted as exercise. Yeah, if I decide to do zone 2 in there, yes, it's for my cardiovascular health. But for me, that's just basic movement that Delhi doesn't allow us. The training is only 4 days a week. But you going to a gym and exercising on a treadmill for an hour and saying, "Oh, I've exercised and come back," that is also not exercise. You know, because that's, so I'm trying to really now, like doc is sifting through so much of the noise from medical to prevention. I'm saying exercise. Walking is a different kind of exercise. Training is training, which you do in a gym.
I do have a question. Oh, okay. How many of you are wearing wearables then?
I took mine off.
I lost mine, but I always...
I took it off.
Okay, so I don't know if you've seen the news recently. I think it was the Apple Watch. They couldn't determine whether you were in a state of stress or whether you were dancing in a nightclub.
Yeah.
Right?
That was not, that was the book.
So then the question of the reliability of that data, right?
Interesting you say that, because I had the same experience. I did a CGM on myself, right? Continuous...
Glucose monitoring.
Let's not get too ahead of ourselves. So I did a CGM, which means continuous glucose monitoring, where you see what peaks your glucose. That's why I use it on myself. I'm not a diabetic, but I just wanted to see what peaks my sugar. And there were very interesting findings. I was operating in the OR. I mean, I found out later, whatever, 11 a.m. or something, and I hadn't had breakfast. I mean, I had breakfast at 8 in the morning, and I hadn't had anything else, eaten anything else, and I wasn't getting upset at anyone, so I wasn't stressed. So then I looked back, and I was actually operating, and it was a complex case, and my sugars actually didn't peak. I mean, they went to 120, 130 or something like that. So it just gives you an insight into your daily routine, how to pace your eating, what to eat, when to exercise, and how bad stress is, because it peaks when you're stressed. Anyway, so I just thought I'll say this interesting thing.
But these are all interesting, because a lot of the people who are also wearing all the tech are not being able to decode the information that's coming out of the tech. So it's really important, because I don't want to name the brand. They reached out to me. They just come out with their CGM, and you know, I wore it because I just believe in the science of balancing your sugar and insulin levels, because for me, everything stems from there. So I wore it. And you know, the group of people who did this study with us, the back-end office was so good with us, because people were coming back and saying, "Oh, you know, my blood sugars drop at night, but when I train and I'm fasted, why is my blood sugar rising?" So there was a lot of back-end support in answering those questions, where, you know, there was a subset of people like me who were eating everything, but, you know, would have a sugar rise or a sugar dip at odd hours, which were not explained, for example. But when they went mass market, the back-end team that was supporting the CGM guys weren't that great. So the monitor was just limited to, "Oh, I can eat cherries and I cannot eat cherries." Not what he's saying, where you really understand your system, time it, understand what peaks at what, because everybody's genetic makeup is very unique. So what works for you may not work for me. Exactly why medicine is to be so personalized. You know, supplements that you take cannot be taken by me or whatever. It is the back-end support for all these gadgets which need a little bit of working, according to me. There was another, like you said, the Apple or one of the wearable tech couldn't detect whether they were dancing or whatever. There was an Instagram meme, by the way. I want to tell you, there was an Instagram meme that was doing a lot of rounds on the Whoop. And basically this guy wakes up in the morning and says, "Oh my God, I'm feeling like 100%. And then all of a sudden he looks at his Whoop and his recovery is in the red zone and his HRV is 20. And he calls his guy up saying, "I'm sorry, I'm not well, I need to go back to bed." So, there's a lot of that going on. But for you, sorry.
No, I have to say, to complete my CGM story, Chola Bhatura didn't do it actually. It didn't give me a
exactly.
peek. Did not give me a peek. Yeah.
So you've got to really understand how to use it. And it's an ecosystem. These are just all tools to help you see what makes you the most efficient version of you. For you, I have a very important question again coming back from me. All these questions are from me to you guys, by the way. I don't know the audience. I'm going to give you some time. You've been, again, at this cutting edge of medical technology, wellness, whether it's from the commercial side, but you also are seeing so much how the clinics are evolving, how the industry is evolving. Now you, as a founder of longevity supplements, again, that whole space is becoming big. It's becoming monetarily very viable, both preventive health and supplementation. I want to ask you, according to you, where does supplementation sit in the hierarchy of what comes first, number one? Second, this is also going to come back to you, so you can, these are all questions from me. Again, the entrance of the GLP-1 drugs, something that I really think they're going to be revolutionary. Peptides, supplements, what is optimal, what is recommended daily allowance. There's just so much that you can do. IVs, your thoughts.
Goodness me, I'm trying to remember the first. Yeah, go. Yeah, exactly. So the first question was about clinics and what I'm seeing and supplementation. Yes? So, goodness me. So I think supplements have been around for a while, and they're essentially unregulated. Right, they are. I mean, certainly in the UK, and I think in many countries, they're unregulated. So actually, you don't even know what's in them. What I've recently discovered, which is why I created a brand, so thank you for that little shout out, is that I couldn't find a trusted brand, for example, of NAD+. Now, I don't know if you know this, but NAD+, 99% of the labs, is actually produced with mannitol, which is a glucose derivative. So I was spending a couple of grand to get a 10-day treatment plan of NAD, which I thought was, reverse aging me. And actually, I'm very sugar sensitive, and I was getting severe cramps, pressure on the chest, nausea, headaches. And that wasn't because of the NAD, which they assured me it was. He goes, yeah, the NAD's working, ma'am. It absolutely is working. It would take me 3 or 4 hours out of my day to take this IV drip, and it was actually the glucose. And you don't have to put it on the vial, because that was purely part of the manufacturing process. It wasn't the ingredients. Secondly, you've got 2 types of NAD. You've got NADH, so it's a molecule that we actually have in our bodies, right? It starts declining from the age of about 30, I believe. You've got NADH, and you've got NAD+. The plus means it's been accelerated and it's active. So when it crosses the cells and crosses the cell membrane and gets into your cells, it can do something. It can kind of create a reaction to regenerate your internal cells. So actually, if you're taking this NADH, which you don't know which type of NAD you're taking, you're actually paying for nothing. It's not working very well for you at all. So this is all to say that I think there's loads of supplements out there, but actually, we don't even know if the fish oil has got mercury in it. So I think it's a little bit murky. It's a little bit. I do think there should be a bit of an expose on what are in these supplements. So yes, it's good to supplement with vitamin C, vitamin D. I think there's a deficiency of vitamin D, certainly for me. So I think yes, but we need to be more discerning, do a little bit more research into what kind of supplements we're taking. But if we do the basics, that's really important. That's like 80% of it. Everything else is then optimizing. So that's my opinion on the supplements. Did you want to ask? Because you know what supplements I do. What else did you want to...
Before I go to the advanced supplements, I'm going to ask him. We're also still sitting, a lot of the audience and a lot of the people I meet when I do an evaluation, they'll say, I said, so what supplements do you take? And they'll just look at me saying, yeah, but I'm too young to take supplements. I said, no, when was the last time you really tested your blood work? And they're like, oh, I did a blood work. And I said, you're never too young to take supplements. But is it okay to, our parents didn't take supplements? I said, yes, because they did not know the science of what supplementation can do for you. So my question to you, if I were to ask you, and this is a generic question, if I were to ask you crucial supplements that really work for the well-being of your body, which you would tell everyone in this room to monitor at least once every 6 months without fail, what would they be?
Vitamin D comes to mind at number 1. Because most of us living in the urban setting are actually vitamin D deficient. or let's say insufficient. So there are several, there are ranges of deficiency, then insufficiency, then average, and then, good, that kind of thing. So vitamin D levels should be done, and majority of us, I take vitamin D supplements. My levels are okay, so I take it once in a month or 6 weeks, but if your levels are not okay, you have to take it more frequently. The common kind of supplement that you should take for vitamin D is vitamin D3 or cholecalciferol. That comes in various brands. I'm not here to promote any particular one, but D3 is what you have to take, 60,000 units. Monthly is good for people who are at borderline or okay. But if you've got insufficient levels, it could be weekly or fortnightly as well. So that's one. Vitamin C has been shown in studies, that's the second one, to enhance immunity, especially for respiratory infections. It improves skin turgor. Turgor means how supple the skin is and what sort of hydration it carries. So vitamin C is also recommended. You see, there are Puritans in medicine who will say, what supplements do you need? And they'll say zero, nothing.
Everything to food. No.
If you that's right. So I don't agree with them.
Yeah, even I don't agree with that.
So, yeah.
Me neither.
Yeah. So I think we all need some supplements, right? And depending on our age and gender and specific deficiencies and otherwise. And so you should do vitamin D levels, you should do vitamin B12 levels, you should do folate levels. And, if you're over 45 or 50, you should do your hormone levels, male, female, both, right? And then, of course, if you're a woman in the perimenopausal kind of age, then hormonal supplementation is a whole new area, not new, whole large area that you should definitely meet an expert for. Male hormone supplementation is less standard. A lot of longevity clinics believe in it, and I think there are specific indications where people can have what's called TRT, testosterone replacement therapy. There are specific indications. I won't get into those, and then a general, like a to Z or a multivitamin is not a bad idea, because what it does is it gives you some zinc, it gives you some trace metals, it gives you biotin, it gives you things which you don't normally take, or sometimes your diet is deficient in. So really you're not harming yourself if you're doing that. Then omega-3 is, again, essential fatty acid supplementation, and generally, again, recommended because your diet may be not balanced enough for that. So those are the ones that are kind of incontrovertible. Majority of people would agree. And there's a whole lot of things like glutathione and NAD and
that's for you now.
Then we are getting into the space
So
which Maila will talk about.
So my inputs on this really are that I think, now let's go a little advanced because we are still sitting at the basic. If you are someone who is doing 80%, you've got your food on point, for which I think you should meet an expert at least once in your life, somebody who understands you, understands your life goals, understands whether you have gut issues, you have, vitamin deficiencies that need to be looked at, and you get a nutrition plan which is not generic, but which is very customized to you. Maybe you have acid reflux, etc., etc., etc. You do that. 2, you are training, say 2 or 3 days a week, where you're doing a little bit of weight training, you're doing a little bit of agility, mobility, all of that, and you are walking 7,000 steps a day, and you are sleeping 6 hours. So if you are this person, now comes the interesting part. How does this person, who now deserves to go on to the other side of health, advanced health optimization, because according to me, if you're not this person, then that's not going to really do much. The preventive diagnostics and all, yes, early detection of disease, and there's that, yes, that I think everybody, but this whole advanced optimization with red light therapy, glutathione drips, IV, NAD, for that first you need to be this person. Now coming back to you. This person wants to ask you.
Can I put an addendum into what
Please.
I forgot about magnesium, and I forgot about
Protein and creatine.
Protein and creatine.
Okay.
Yeah.
And greens.
And creatine, by
I
the way.
think
Creatine, we're going to come back because I'm
Q&A's
so
coming.
happy.
Q&A's coming.
I'm so happy a doctor just said creatine because everybody, when I say creatine, they're like, oh,
Yeah.
my uric acid will go up. I'm like, no. Okay, but we're going to
That's
come
a
back to
recent thing. So it is protein. Creatine's still like a lot of the medical guys are like,
Yeah.
kind of poo-pooing it. But protein, especially somewhere in India where you've got like a lot of vegetarians, for
Yeah.
example. So protein, but I think greens as well, like
And
chlorella,
greens, yes.
spirulina, these kinds of things. Magnesium for sure, I think zinc. And actually some of the mushrooms,
Yeah.
right?
Okay, my question is...
These
my
are
question,
supplementation,
No,
though, I
my
think.
question is,
Yeah,
now
tell
you've
me.
got this person.
Okay,
this
so
is
you want
to
the
both of you.
advanced stuff.
Now you've got this person who's got the food sorted, got the exercise sorted, the movement sorted, sleeps fairly well, is fairly regulated with emotion, and kind of is already doing all the stuff right and probably gives herself a 7 out of 10 on the ladder, right? And now I want to ask you, because now I'm the actual consumer of both your spaces.
Yeah.
I want to ask you, to optimize my health further, what is the advanced level of supplementation or diagnostics, so for you first, that is valuable for me? Is it again generic or is it customized? How do you look at it? Peptides. So they're making big news now. Everyone's just in Dubai, you're walking into a clinic and you're doing copper peptides. And they're just being doled out like blushers, like, so can you?
Where is it being doled out?
Everywhere. In
So
Dubai,
that's for
it's
research only, typically.
so now.
So I love the glutathione. So I'm going to just tell you what I like.
Yeah.
Okay, obviously. And what we're planning to do with our company as well. So we're
Right.
going to start stacking medication and cartridges and put them in like an EpiPen, like the GLP-1 type pens. So actually on GLP-1, actually it's very useful. I just think it's being overused and it's not being supported. So you're getting huge weight loss, but actually you're getting the muscle wastage, you're getting the saggy skin. Those are not good results. All right? You don't want to just lose weight like that. But actually it's really, really good for anti-inflammation. So what we call, it's not even a microdose, it's less than a microdose. What do you call that? Like a nominal dose, noni dose, right? Actually, we do believe that actually stacking that is really good for anti-inflammation. So that's one. We like glutathione. I like methylene blue. I do like spermidine. I'll tell you why I really like spermidine is because I tried to fast at Lanserhof. I really did. Didn't work for me. And I said, so how can I get this state of autophagy if I can't fast? Because it's really bad for my metabolic rate. And they suggested spermidine. I looked into it. Again, you've got these really great German companies, and I'm buying from them, and I realized they've got omega-6 in it, which means within a couple of months, they're going rancid already. So again, it's not just what the supplementation is, it's where they're getting made, how they're getting made, and these things. Yeah. So the GLP-1 we definitely like. The glutathione, we like spermidine. And then beyond that, we can start going on to exosomes. On the peptides, they're shown to be really, really useful. Yeah. I mean, I heard about them from friends who were Olympians and bodybuilders, right? BP157, for example, the copper peptides you mentioned.
I've actually used BP157 personally.
Yeah, and ipamorelin, which, I mean, you need to cycle on and off, and ipitalan. You don't like them?
The mods.
The Motzi. Yeah, the Motzi. I have one in my suitcase. I haven't tried it yet. Have you tried? No. Okay, I will report back.
But the reason I want to say the BPC1, the
There's so many.
BPC157 I actually personally tried because
For tissue repair?
because I hurt my foot and it was I needed plastic surgery and I refused to do that and I was trying to heal it myself. I was told it's going to take 6 to 8 months, but I decided that I was going to do everything under the sun to get it to heal naturally, and it did. I recovered in 4 months. It took a bit of while, but it was a very good recovery, better than having a surgery for that little bit.
Yeah.
Doc, the most important question and the biggest buzzword today, the GLP-1, Ozempic, Mounjaro. I don't want to say because I get called out for it. I'm not going to say I'm a big fan, but I think it's going to be revolutionary in preventing disease. The medicines are only going to become better and better with fewer side effects. But especially for you, even with liver cirrhosis, people who have fatty livers, I know weight loss is just one of the things that the drug does, but it improves so many markers, whether it's inflammation markers, whether it's reversing fatty liver. I really want your thoughts for everyone on the GLP-1 drugs and what you think.
So, there are 2 common drugs that are being used. One is semaglutide, which is Ozempic, and then there is Mounjaro, which is tirzepatide. don't bother with the medical names. But so basically what they do is, they're like, you can treat them like a metabolic reset. Okay. So they're not the panacea of, weight loss and diabetes control in that sense. It still remains lifestyle. But if you haven't led a good lifestyle and if you haven't modified it to, get a good one going, then yes, if you're overweight, if you have bad diabetes, if you have fatty liver, it can actually benefit you. It's been shown, and there's enough scientific evidence to show that GLP-1 and GIP, glucagon-like peptide, they can actually benefit. Now, Mounjaro is slightly superior compared to Ozempic. It's an injectable. You give it usually once a week. And you go up on the doses depending on the need, and usually starts to have a good effect in terms of diabetes control and weight loss in about 6 to 12 weeks, depending on the person. And people can take it for 6 months, 1 year. And the thing is, if you haven't actually been modifying your lifestyle actively, then your weight and your diabetes will bounce right back the minute you leave it. So that's what I said. So it's not a permanent answer. It's like a reset. So you can actually, it's like a crutch. You can use it. You can get your weight in order, your diabetes well controlled. The dose of insulin that somebody might need for diabetes comes down dramatically. Or if you're borderline diabetic, then your insulin sensitivity improves and you don't become a diabetic. So all that has been shown. It's also been shown to reduce the risk of Alzheimer's disease and dementia. It has also been shown to reduce the risk of heart disease, right? These are things which have been shown, right? Alzheimer's is relatively new evidence, but the other three things, diabetes, weight loss, liver health, fatty liver, and cardiovascular disease. So these are now proven benefit. It's only like a 5-year-old scientific data, but it's all proven. So it's a good thing, but it's not going to be enough if you don't change your lifestyle. So that's the only, it has some adverse effects as well. Apart from the rebound, it has other adverse effects. So one has to be careful. One has to do it under medical supervision and with an informed person. Sadly, a lot of not so well qualified, not even doctors, are actually pushing this.
But tell me, why is it because of a regulatory thing? Because they don't come because they're just peptides and not drugs.
No, they are drugs, of course. But the thing is that
how come they're not regulated? Why do they not need a prescription?
Mounjaro needs a prescription. Of course, Mounjaro needs a prescription. No.
Really?
No. Yes, of course. But you'll find a pliable doctor that's willing to give it to you.
Yeah.
Right? Don't look at me, not me. So, but I mean, of course you need a prescription. Yeah. But I'm just saying that, sorry, no disrespect.
No, do you know, okay, let me just
tell
you, by the way,
they're
chemists, you can pick them up from your pharmacist.
Sorry?
What? You can pick them up from your pharmacist.
Yeah, well, you shouldn't be. And there's the new wave.
Not
stuff,
ideally,
right?
no.
There's new GLP-3 though, right?
Yeah.
Now, are you coming to that?
I'm not coming to that. Tell us.
Could you please? Do you want to?
So the thing is that, but that's just done phase 3 right now.
Yeah.
So obviously there are drugs which are in the same category of GLP-1 agonist or GIP agonist. Agonist means it acts like that. And tirzepatide is actually one that acts in both ways. It's got a dual action. And what you're talking about, the GLP-3, it actually got an additional action directly on the satiety hormone, right? So there will be such drugs. There's always a pipeline of drugs whenever drug development happens. And yes, I think it's a wonder drug, to be honest. Yeah. It's powered.
I think it's
powered a weight loss revolution. One of my very dear friends and a well-known endocrinologist, Dr. Ambrish Mittal, whom you also interviewed a few weeks ago, has written a book on this. And I think that's about it. You know, go back home thinking it's a good thing to help you reset
And
your
it's
metabolism.
not a magic
but
pill. I just want to tell you that
Yeah.
it's not. People are not talking about it. And I've seen people who, friends of mine, who've lost considerable weight. They've always been struggling because they have had BMIs of, say, 28, 30, not clinically obese for a bariatric, but people who've been struggling with weight, which is over 20, 30 kilos. And all of a sudden, the positive side that I see is that they've lost weight. They're so much more motivated in the gym. They're eating correct because now they can actually see what the effort that they're putting in, because some people who have insulin sensitivity do have a bit of a struggle to actually play beyond the 2-3 kilos. It's very tough for them to lose weight.
That is true. And also, one of the other side effects that a lot of people don't like is something called Mounjaro facies. So people who lose a lot of fat in their face will actually start to look haggard and wrinkled. So, one has to be aware of that. So best to improve your lifestyle.
I'm going to actually open out some questions to the audience. I think it's time. You've heard a lot from us, so yeah, I'm watching the time. So I'm going to open the questions. Okay. I want to give the question out to you guys now because you've asked. I've asked whatever I wanted to.
Can we have a probiotic every day?
No, ma'am. I don't think that I can let you all go back with the idea that everybody should have one probiotic every day. No, that's not true. But there's some people who would need probiotics, right? If you've got a microbiome test done, there are specific probiotics which will deal with the microbiome problem, which is eventually resulting in some gut issue that you have, right?
I have a gut issue.
So if you have IBS or if you have other gut issues and your microbiome shows that there is a problem that can be treated by a probiotic, then you can have specific probiotics, not just any probiotic. Okay. And you don't have to have it every day for the rest of your life. You can have a course of it. Usually for 4 to 6 weeks is enough, right? You don't need it for very long term.
Question. Now we just go robot.
I've got 2 questions. So what are your thoughts on having baking soda with a bit of apple cider vinegar and some lemon first thing in the morning for a short period, like 2 weeks a month? No thoughts. No thoughts? No.
I don't know, you tell us. I don't know, I'm not a nutritionist, so I don't specifically know what your
No,
kind
just for like tissue
hinting
repair,
at,
giving your body energy, cell.
So baking soda and?
Like a teaspoon of baking soda with some apple cider vinegar, mother, and a lemon with
I'm not
lukewarm water.
I've heard of apple cider vinegar with water.
I'm not informed enough of this combination to answer this.
Okay, and your products, are they third-party tested?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm a former lawyer. I definitely do. So in an industry that is not regulated, we choose to self-regulate. So we actually only work with pharma-grade labs. So if we wanted to make medicines, we could do. Yeah.
So endorphins are stored in the liver, I suppose? Endorphins. So
Yeah.
how can we willfully make the endorphin release in the body, and how fast can we refill the endorphin store? How does it really work?
So endorphins are feel-good chemofactors, right? And some of the endorphins are actually made in the nerve cells, okay? And some are made in muscle, and some is even made in fatty tissue. So the source of, and of course there are some liver endorphins as well. So I think that eventually everything that, in simple words, makes you feel good, which means your stress levels are low. So meditation has been shown to actually improve endorphins, right? So if your stress levels are low, if you're exercising well and your muscle mass is healthy and you're regularly exercising, you don't have sarcopenia. Sarcopenia means lack of or less muscle mass. So then your endorphin release is set at a higher level, right? So exercise, lack of stress are 2 clear things that I can tell you that will improve your endorphin levels.
What do you think of breath work, though, as well? So I think breath work is quite key for alkalizing the body and making sure we're breathing properly and getting the oxygen into our body.
Absolutely right. Absolutely right. So breathwork has again been shown in scientific studies to lower cortisol, which is a stress hormone, as you know, and it's been known to improve immunity by 30 to 50% in studies. So breathwork is amazing. In fact, regular meditators have longer telomeres than people who don't. So telomeres are ends of DNA, which all of us have. The longer the telomeres, the longer you live. It says.
That's the backbone of this whole longevity science. Everyone's trying to preserve the telomeres. You have a length when you're born, and as you age or you have disease, they shorten and shorten. And all of this is just trying to see how much you can preserve the length of your telomeres. I don't know what testing there is yet on that. But
I was just going to say there's a new frontier. Well, the new frontier, I think the next one is brain health. That's one. But I think what's really exciting is stem cell therapy and exosomes as well, right? So own stem cells, so autologous stem cells. Currently, you're hearing about Brian Johnson doing allogeneic. I know you're meant to leave too. He's got a dinner. He's got to leave shortly. So, but you do have allogeneic stem cells, which is someone else's, and then you have autologous ones, which are your own, and then we have exosomes as well. So that's not for now.
As a liver transplant surgeon, I want to actually ask you, are you looking at exosome stem cells for liver regeneration?
I and my team are not, but a lot of people are. And unfortunately, there has been no clear clinical use case at this point in time. Several studies have been done. What happens is that MSCs have been used, mesenchymal stem cells, and they don't survive long enough to have lasting effects. So 20%, there are several studies. So one big study from Europe and another big one from India, similar results, 15 to 18% improvement in liver tests, but doesn't sustain beyond 4 to 8 weeks because the cells die off, right? So not for clinical use right now.
So we're actually using stem cells for like MSK at the moment, rather than complete reverse aging, but they are beginning. I think it is going to be an exciting area and one to keep an eye on.
Any more questions?
Hi, with regard to what you said, you've talked, all three of you stressed on the importance of nutrition and how that essentially sets the baseline before anything else. So keeping that in mind, what is your take on alternative diets like a keto or a plant-based diet or an animal-based diet, a pescatarian diet? Is there, for example, a difference between protein from an animal source versus a plant source?
So, like I already gave a disclaimer, I'm not a nutritionist, so I won't be able to tell you in great detail, but what is your specific question? Like, I know you're asking in general, but would you want to dwell into one thing? Like,
nutritionally, would you say that it makes a difference?
let's talk about intermittent fasting.
Yeah.
Okay, so
I know it's not your question.
I can only answer your question from this side because it's not that serious the question for him. But I can say this, that like I said, there's no one size fits all. Each one of them have a merit. You can go on, but know this, that you need to visit a professional once in your life, or at least once in every phase of your life, to just have them look at what you're going through, what your blood markers are, what are you willing to get out of your life, where are you struggling, what are your roadblocks. That's when you actually get a true nutrition plan, not the generic ones that are floating around. A Mediterranean plan is actually a really good plan, but is it for you? I don't know, because what if you're gluten intolerant and you can't eat cheese? So you need, all I'm saying is that for something like this, you need a very personalized approach to figure out what a nutrition plan is for you. Giving intermittent fasting, there are several studies which have proven and continue to prove, our yogis did it, which is why they lived 100 years, that autophagy is a thing. It's scientifically proven, but is it for you because you have acid reflux? Maybe not, because you cannot go long hours without eating, like it's not for her. But is there a science that proves that it does take out dead cells? Yes. So to find your particular diet, I think professional guidance with a nutritionist, not a weight loss specialist, but a nutritionist is what is important. Somebody who understands nutrition in its true value.
How disappointing.
No, so within range, like I said, when you go to a nutritionist, they don't look at the range, they look at how optimized you are. I think
This is the last one.
Last one.
and then we can let you go and then maybe she can answer.
So I wanted to ask about a disbalanced adrenal axis. So for someone who has like a higher cortisol at night, who's suspecting it, because for me, I have been trying to get like a saliva test done, but it's not been accessible for me on all the major labs around India. But if I'm suspecting it, what should I do? How should I go about diagnosing it? And what are the solutions?
There is a simple 8 a.m., 4 p.m. test for cortisol. You just call up Lal's lab or Dang's lab or someone, and just come and do it for you. Blood work. Yeah. And while you're at it, you can get the other blood work done as well.
Okay, my last question to you and then you can promise go. Do you feel this advanced optimization preventive testing is only going to be for the elite, or is it at some point becoming mainstream by the insurance companies to actually say, okay, at 40, these are tests that need to be done, mandatory. This is something that needs to be done. Hormones need to be under insurance, etc. Are we ever going to get to that?
So I think that it has to be democratized. There is no question that it should just remain for the elite. It doesn't make sense. I mean, people who have it all, within quotes, are worried about their health span and lifespan. But, you know, it should actually be done for everyone. Technology will help do it. AI will help do it. And I think that eventually the goal of healers and healthcare personnel should be to actually give access of preventive medicine to all. Sadly, not many insurance companies actually cover preventive health. In India, I know of none. There's one, Narayan Hridayalaya insurance covers preventive health, but that's only in the context of their own hospitals. Right. But so this is something that has to be picked up. But I've heard that AXA Insurance are thinking of it. You know, the AXA World. Kaiser has it, but that's not India. So yes, that has to come into mainstream, and that's how we'll actually revolutionize health for all. Yeah.
Just on that, actually, it's currently being democratized, actually, with this. Have you heard of Neko Health?
Yeah,
So the founder of Spotify has come up with these scans that you go in for £300 and you get your body scanned. So it has started already being democratized. So there we go.
Yeah, so we're going to say bye to Doc. Thank you so much.